Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Current Racing League. By the way, I'm not a driver, I'm a commentator, so you definitely got the right stream. And it is USA for round number 5 here at the Texas GP. My name is ILT Indigo, or Jamie Morris, and joined alongside me today is the one and only, the lovely CRL Freefall, also known as Scott.
How you doing, Jamie? How you doing, everybody at home? I think it wouldn't be a CRL season if one of the commentators didn't step into a car at some point. I've done it on a previous occasion, Jamie, so you're in very, very good company here. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, you join us for round number 5. We're already getting through this calendar. The last one before the Christmas break, of course, and it is the Circuit of the Americas. A very well, not a very recent, but a more recent circuit on the calendar, it must be said, here in Austin, Texas. One of 3 American circuits on the calendar.
Scott, I think you're a bit quiet on the stream. Let me turn you up.
The Americas, 20 corners around this. I don't have the length of the track, but it's a decently long track, it must be said. We've got 18 drivers, 19 drivers if you include our very own Mr. Morris on the grid. But it'll be an interesting viewpoint for the first lap for you, Jamie, of course. You'll have the... Yeah, I don't know how you're going to manage that. You might just need to crawl around at the back, get into the pits and retire very quickly, and I'll try and keep you folks up to air with the action.
I'm going to miss the start, aren't I? Well, I'm actually going to be at the start. I'm going to have to retire in the pit lane without causing any safety cars, but I'm going to have to retire now. Retire from session. Oh, not invite people. Yeah, retire from session, and I'll be out of KXI's teammate, because he's currently on the track. Is it let me retire? No, I pressed... What's going on? There we go. I've retired now, so that's me done and dusted for qualifying. Already started in last place, unfortunately.
It's you're used to starting at the back, Jamie. I've seen your pace, mate. It's not much of a driver, folks.
Oh.
Nah. One of the legends of the league, it must be said, not just in the Cobbles box, on the grid. And speaking of this grid, Jamie, 18 drivers on it. And, well, if you're looking at the top end of it, it's looking very, very tasty.
It is top 3 in the championship on the same points. Talk about one of them. Indy Jesus is on a lap time, going into turn 1, braking at the black box then. Off camber first corner. You want to try and hit the apex at turn 1, but it narrowly misses it. As we head through turn 2, should be an easy flat out corner. As we head now through the Maggots and Beckett's likes, through turn 3, turn 4 and turn 5. Slight lift off on turn 5, back on throttle on turn 6, then off the throttle immediately. Carry the speed and the momentum, swinging in left and right. Oh, there's a Williams! That was close to contact. I can't even look backwards. That's how messed up my thing is, but that Williams there has ruined Indy Jesus' lap time, and that'd be Bunnies, the Canadian, who will pick up a penalty if Indy Jesus reports that. Yeah,
I think that is a pretty clear in impeding of a flying lap from Bunnies. Looked to be just trying to get out of the way of cars falling out of the pits, and maybe just getting a little mix up of which one of the cars behind was on a flying lap. We do see, of course, on that bottom right hand corner there is the 2 Aston Martins in that little train, Jamie, so I think that's maybe just a slip up from Bunnies. Fortunately though, all the cars still in this qualifying session. The next car on a flying lap then, P4 in the championship, only 8 points off the top 3. It is crazy how even our top 7 all separated within 1 race worth of points. 29 points separating P7 Club PR from the top, but KXI on this lap then, going down the back straight. A perfectly good opportunity here to put a flying lap in and set the marker down like he's done in qualifying a few times this season. And a perfectly good place in the race. We could see some moves, Jamie, at the end of this second sector. Then you've got the nice 90-degree left-hander of 12 before the double right-hander 13 and 14, followed up by a little double left-hander. A very, very Tilke-esque circuit, you might say. That is because he's the one who designed it all the way back in 2012 once it opened. Groundbroken, of course, 2 years before that. Him and I believe Rivero Architects, Jamie, I might be wrong on that, are the designers. Through the last couple of corners then does go KXI 19, and it is a tricky corner 20, it must be said. You've got to really get that throttle down as early as you can, but too early you'll be into the wall. And a 33.7 on the board for KXI. Jamie, I'm expecting the mid-22s here, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Do you mean mid-32s?
Mid-32s, yeah. If anybody gets in the 22s, I want them. I want a full drug and alcohol test on them. If they manage that, that would be quite the lap. Solf then, a newcomer in the reserve into P3, a 1:34.8 for him, at 1.1 seconds off the banker mark. Crc PR starting a lap. I'm just trying to find. I think Steban could be a good one to watch out for, Jamie. He's had a little bit of misfortune, it must be said, this season.
Oh, look at the crash! Oh, he's out of the session! Tobes has crashed. He's just spun where Danny Kvyat lost it back in 2015, and unfortunately he is out of qualifying. Sorry to interrupt you there, Tobes, Scott, but Tobes has hit the wall out of turn 19, and unfortunately is out of this qualifying session. Then on a good form is Tobes recently, as Stevan goes quickest with a 33.3 in the Alfa Romeo, and his strategy in Mexico didn't pay dividends towards later on in the Grand Prix, unfortunately, as he was the only one on the inters or the wets, opposite way around, of course. But let's see if it changes here in USA. Apparently he's got some good pace around here, and he's already put 4 tenths between himself and KXI then. But back to you, Scott.
Yeah, unfortunate for Tobes there, and don't ever worry about interrupting me, Jamie. Your voice is always a pleasure here. But Steban, like we said, a little bit wrong with the strategy on those inters. It was maybe his hand forced a little bit just with some collisions during that Grand Prix. It was an action-packed, wet Mexican Grand Prix, of course, where IRT Crc took the victory ahead of the reserve of Rapid F1, making it 2 for 2 in the case of the podiums in his appearance. Of course, full-time driver very recently was a reserve in Hungary. Real DC rounded off that podium with Tobes, KXI, King Fi Panda, Indian Jesus, Asian Safian, Natural Polishman and Bunnies rounding off the point scorers down to 12th. And only one DNF as well, which was Jay Hartnell. It was a very, as much as there was action and there was excitement and changeable conditions, it was a very clean, non-destructive race in one sense. Nacho, though, I'm riding on board with Jamie, had a big snap. Purple sector too, I'm not sure if that's 100% accurate, but a big snap through those double rights and double lefts in sector 3. You then got the almost turn 8 Istanbul-esque triple right-hander, of course, it's only a double, as DC with a 13.1 that goes on the board. But Nacho, a driver that we've seen have very, very good potential, of course, won its Tier 5 last season, a 34.1 for him, a second off the top as things stand, but with a little mistake in that lap, Jamie, definitely time to make up for him.
Yes, it is. And Crc went out of turn 1, had a bit of wheel spin on the exit there, so already at the beginning of the lap struggling. It is a difficult corner because it's a heavy braking zone, heavy traction zone as well, so you have to build up the throttle very patiently as well. This X section is easy to get wrong as well if you carry too much speed or you just miss the corner completely. But here we are into turn number 9 as he makes his way through the left-hander where Sebastian Vettel back in 2019 broke his suspension, unfortunately for him, as we head down into this left-hander. Some people do opt to go for an overtake here. We saw Sergio Perez, I think, on Carlos Sainz 2015, I think, in the Force India, but Crc there with the DRS enabled MotoGP also right around the states of America, around here in USA, Texas, as we make our way down into turn number 12, the most favourable corner to overtake, a bit hesitant going in there, and also has massive wheel spin on the exit too with a 2.7 in his middle sector. So unfortunately for Crc, not really been a tiny lap time as he dominated here in Mexico, but further up north of America seems to be struggling around here too as we come through this left-hander, the exit, a bit more wheel spin on the exit too as we head through this triple right-hander too. It should be a flat out in qualify, but in the race might want to lift off slightly just in case because of the tyre temps. And as we make our way through the penultimate corner where we saw Tobes crash and is out of the session, Crc makes his way towards the final corner. Is it going to be pole though? Yes, it is. So despite a difficult lap times there for Crc, a lot more times to be found in the McLaren, but he's got quickest over by a tenth as well, so I'm quite surprised about that, seeing his lap time unfold in the McLaren. So we'll see if anybody can beat that, because it was definitely struggling out there. His teammate, not Jack, unfortunately has invalidated somewhere in that first sector, so has to go for another lap time. Rapid F1, who finished in P2 at the Mexican Grand Prix, but a good form recently has has Rapid. In France, I don't think he took part in the French GP, if I'm not mistaken. Rapid, I'm looking at the wrong driver here, I get confused between Rapid and Crc, I don't know why, but for some reason. But Rapid finished in P9 in the French GP, so struggled there, but he's P3 in the championship and all to play for as well, with a lot of races still left to go in this season, so it's going to be very close to the top of the time, top of the constructors' end in that championship between Crc, DC and Indian Jesus, and currently Crc's first place out of Indian Jesus and DC. I'm getting confused again. Crc is not actually top 3 in the championship, is he? He's further down than the rest of them. Yeah, he is. He's P5 in the championship, so I'm getting confused with the names already.
Yeah, I think Crc, he missed out on a race. I think it was actually the season opener in Jeddah, and then of course had that heartbreak in France where he had that spin. Probably should have had the win over Indian Jesus. And speaking of Indian Jesus, he's done a 33.130. He was a tenth off DC nearly through the first sector, but obviously finding a lot more time compared to that Mercedes in the second and final sectors. Most of the cars then done their first early bankers. One of them just coming around to complete theirs is the man you're talking about, Rapid F1, is of course going to cross a line and a 33.088, just half of a tenth of Crc as things stand. The two of them getting very, very feisty already in this qualifying session. I mean, look, we have got 4 cars within just a tenth of each other. It really does set the precedent for what could be a great, great race here around the circuit of the Americas. Cars flying out of the pits on their next runs. Indian Jesus is going into the pits, so I believe Not Jack is maybe the only car on the circuit, however, has invalidated. So a lot of outlaps coming up here, Jamie. I believe the next car on a flying run, it will be either the Mercedes of DC or one of the Haas, who I believe is Crc R, will be the next to start a lap. Well, we're speaking of the teams. This man's team, Haas, currently find themselves in P3 in the Constructors' Championship. And Jamie, what a battle it is. Of course, the Constructors' Championship carried across all 4 tiers, and the top 5 teams, Red Bull, Mercedes, Haas, Williams and Ferrari, separated by 17 points. 17 points separating 5 teams, each team with 8 drivers. 40 drivers separated by a combined 17 points. That is insanely close, and we're a third of the way through the season, so all to play for on that front. Alpine, Aston Martin a little bit further behind, 60 and 100 respectively, and then you've got a tight battle between Alpha Tauri, Alfa Romeo and McLaren, but 124 points only separating all teams at this stage. It's probably one of the tightest I've ever seen in my time as a commentator, admin and driver here. Crc R then looking to be on a half decent lap, it must be said. A quite misty split at the end of the first sector, Jamie. I don't know if you caught it, but coming down this back straight now towards turn number 12, of course, missed out narrowly in the podium in Jeddah. I believe he did have a podium in France, so really up there in contention is Crc R, currently of course 7th in the standings, 29 points off the top, just about matching his time here on the previous lap, a 33.499, but maybe a little bit of time to find through this tricky third sector. It could easily make the difference between P6 as it stands and maybe a potential hunt for the pole position here. Down the double right-hander, turn 8-esque at Istanbul, like we said before, behind the tricky double left. And if you don't spin into the wall, Jamie, that's one of the other risks around here. You could run a bit wide and invalidate your lap, just like Crc R has done.
Perfect example indeed, as we've seen a lot of drivers run out wide at the exit of turn 19. They're headed into turn 20, just going out wide, but you don't want to be doing what GT cars do and just run out wide because they get away with it. But Nacho is coming out the left-hander then. He finished, well, the battle in Mexico was between himself and Bunnies for P10. I think both Williams scored points on that occasion. Bunnies was left behind as he was defending from both Hasses right behind him. But Nacho coming towards the Pulse corner at turn 19, want to use all the track available on the right-hand side or all the curb without validated. Here he is in the Williams, then he crosses the line now to stay P10, no P8, sorry, I was looking at the wrong timing sheets there. I was looking at his name, not the results, but he goes in P8 with a 33.7 and he's 400ths away from KXI in P7 there, who's currently on a lap time himself, is KXI 8,000s down in the first sector on his second lap or third, but 3 minutes and 50 seconds left to go in this qualifying session. This qualifying has gone absolutely rapid, it must be said. I'm not even a pun there as well for P2, but Crc there currently in P1, who's still on pole position, has got a lot of time to provide in his current lap time. 1500s down in the middle sector is Crc, but he also almost lost the car too on the exit of turn number 13, and KXI is heading down the long back straight into turn 12 then. A lot of people do tend to cut the corner as you're allowed to do so. He's almost 2/10 up in his middle sector. This could put him into P6 depending if he can find a bit more time, but drifting out wide through there, which you don't really want to do, of course. But let's see how this lap time unfolds there for KXI, who won the Jeddah Grand Prix He's currently sitting P4 in the championship, 8 points away from the top 3. Is Crc improves his lap time by 32.9 and goes a tenth quicker than his previous best. And let's see what KXI can do as he heads off into the pit lane then. So it feels like he can't improve on the lap time, sadly for him, as he dies off. King Panda, who was racing with COVID last time, right, here he is. This could be a good lap time. It is P7 for him with a 33.5 in the Alpine then. And Steven, what's he currently doing? He's not on a lap time so far. Looks like he's just improved to P5. Has the Dutchman, who really did struggle at the Mexican Grand Prix, or struggle, I must say, went to the wrong tyres, but P5 is a decent result for him, and let's see if he could catapult from there. But we've got majority of people on their outlaps then in the dying stages of this qualifier. Let's see who could take pole position away from ILT Crap, because it is mighty close between all those guys in the top 5 there, with Indian Jesus and the real DC currently on their outlaps. With Rapid still in the pit lane with just 2 minutes left to go, I think, in this session. So we've seen a lot of drivers then circulating around here. Not all of them are out on the circuit just so far. Tobes, let's see from the back of the grid if he could try and make a comeback drive. I'll try not to take him out in turn 1, start at the back with him, but let's see how he does then throughout the field. He's got some decent race pace as a Ferrari driver. Tobes, he's tracking on speed down at P15, had a decent run last season around here in USA. He was defending from KXI and he was running a very low downforce setup. His straight line speed was incredible, keeping those guys behind. And let's see if he can try and improve his lap time with a 35.0, so 2 seconds off the pace. Unfortunately, he's dragging on speed, but hopefully he could try and make a comeback drive through the field. He's got some decent pace, but looks like he's struggling so far. So that shows retired then. I'm not quite sure if he's done that in the pit lane or the final corner, as some people do crash out at the final corner there. But we've got some more retirees. Steve Van Crac's retired, so could they be sacrificing a set of softs in quali to use them in the race?
I think so, yeah. Them 3 retiring there, they were all drivers. King Fi Panda, another one, went out, did their final run a little bit early, dragging on speed. Just to give him a little bit more context why he's down in 15th. Wasn't a very, very good lap, but a little mistake in the final sector, and opting with only 4 minutes left on the clock to dive into the pits and have another go and try again. I'm just trying to keep an eye on who's on flying laps where and what, and I think Real DC is going to be one of the first of the front runners, shall we say, to set a lap time up. Coming through the finals, the second sector there, sorry Jamie, nearly 2 tenths up in the time, so potentially in contention for that pole time against Crc. He's just got to nail these final couple of corners, which he's done with the second last, and he's done pretty well with the final. Does go top with a 32.7. Indian Jesus is on a lap though, and there's plenty of others. Rapid just starting his final flying run. Club PR out of nowhere with a 32.6, was down with only a 33.4 before that, so finding almost 8 tenths. KXI about to start a lap as well, but I think it will be the sister Mercedes of Glowstick the next to put a lap, and then joined by a double procession of Aston Martin, Polish Man and Indian Jesus. The national teams, it must be said. The timer is up though, the 18 minutes are done, and Glowstick not going to put this flying lap in. It will be Indian Jesus then, currently in P5. He has invalidated, so will not improve. Polish Man has also invalidated and thus will not improve, Jamie. So it is a very, very tricky circuit to absolutely nail, and still plenty of times to come in. Easing 3 tenths up in his best time. We'll see how that pans out. Dragging on speed, that's one that I'm interested to know. Apparently, going by the graphic, 3 tenths off their best time. Not the sort of pace we've seen earlier on, but it's a very, very easy track to make a mistake, Jamie.
Yeah, lots of corners, lots of places to validate as well, and heavy braking zones as well to get traction right. Rapid is currently he's had a big moment there coming out of turn 16, I think it is, coming into triple right-hander. So how much will this affect Rapid's lap time as he continues to enter the final 2 corners? Here at turn 19, this is where Indian Jesus are validated, hence what you were talking about earlier on, and now coming towards the final corner, which looks like it's decent though, but on traction, not so much. He crossed the line at 32.9 and goes up into P3, so a decent lap time, all considering that he did make quite a few mistakes there in his lap time. But KXI, unfortunately for him, is not on a lap time. Bunny's in P15. Let's see what lap time he could do, which he can't do because he's invalidated. So That's qualifying done, and Crc is on pole position then for qualifying. Very interesting indeed. Finished P2 at the French GP, capitalising on his hardcore power tyres to overtake, I think, DC, who was on the mediums, and or fresher mediums, I think it was at the time, as there was a safety car which split up strategies, and also benefiting from Crc spinning at turn 2, tried to hood down Indy Jesus. I think it was actually Crc who spun at turn 2, tried to hood down Indy Jesus for the win. He could have done it, but unfortunately for him, pushed a bit too hard, lost the rear of the car and spun it, which allowed Indy Jesus to win the race. The battle for P2 was very interesting between Crc and DC as well. But there it is then. Crc on pole ahead of DC, rapid third ahead of Crc, Indy Jesus 5th, Steve at 6th, Ace 7th, Panda 8th, Jay Hartnell in P9, and we'll get the rest of it then. KXI, my teammate in P10 ahead of Nacho, Glowstick 12th, Polishman 13th, Solf in 14th on his first appearance here in Tier 3, Buddy's 15th, Dragon Speed is 16th, there's your retirements then, Tobes, Not Jack, and ILT Indigo in P19.
Very, very interesting qualifying. The driver I'm most surprised at is that IRT Indigo lad. Like, shouldn't be down there at P19, but in all seriousness, it was a very competitive qualifying. I feel there's maybe a few drivers feel they're a bit out of position, Tobes being the name one, KXI to a degree, Dragon on Speed another, and even Polish man, Bunnies. You know, we've seen it before, we'll say it again, this grid has really got the capability of throwing up any kind of winner, any kind of podium or pole setter, and pole setter this evening is Crc PR, of course, missed out narrowly in France, has got that pole here. We'll just, yeah, I think lap 1, the procedure, I'm going to hand the pass. Jamie, you'll get a nice little tour of the circuit with Jamie during lap 1 and the formation lap, of course.
Damn, I forgot to put my setup on.
Oh no, we'll ask for a lobby restart. Well, there you go, you can give us a little strategy insight, I suppose, and a little setup insight maybe as well.
I think mediums to hards is the best way to go. I mean, hards to medium, sorry. Yeah, that's the way to go, unless there's an early safety car, which could be as well, because it is a difficult track, easy to crash out as well, and we'll see some track limits around here, especially in that first sector as well, or turn 19, as some drivers fell victim from that. So I'm sat in the car with the Red Bull mechanics. Unfortunately for them, I have to retire on lap 1, so that's just a waste of time preparing the car for me, with the cameraman just in front of me there, but I get a good view of 18 drivers on the grid. And hopefully it'll be a good race down into turn 1. I won't see it, but I'll back off. Don't worry, I'm not gonna go flat out. Obviously, that's I'm not gonna be to do that as a commentator. But hopefully I can avoid some incidents if there are any, capitalise and retire the pit lane.
I'm trying to think of the previous incidents where that happened. I think, was it round 1 back in season 7 or season 8? I was main comms for tier 4, and it happened, and I had to just drive about at the rear of the tier 4 grid. I know the famous one that happened, I think it was all the way back in, I think it was season 4 Austria, where we had Pheasant Plucker, of course, CRL Fandango, and the legend that is Ferg in the comms booth, and Ferg joining late during quali, it put him into a car, but as it did back in the day, Jamie, and it was an interesting starting grid with a tier 1 champion driving about with tier 4 drivers on the first lap. Maybe a dream for some of the drivers, but a nightmare for others. So you're not the first and you won't be the last to do it, Jamie, I can guarantee. But we're getting a nice little track side view, and in fact we've got an indication of the timer to when the session starts by the looks of things. We don't normally get that from the comms booth, we normally just get plunged in. Of course, formation lap is on, so Jamie, while you're giving a nice little tour of the circuit, I'll run us through the tyres, and then I suppose you'll just have to bear with me in the first lap. I'll try and keep you up to date with what's happening best I can, and we'll go from there, mate.
I didn't even click a car either. I accidentally pressed triangle or something because I moved my controller about, so yeah, apologies for all this, and I get a good view at the back of the field. So it's me, Jack, Tobes, Dragon on Speed, and Buddy's there from P15 to P19. I can't see the rest. Tobes on the hard compound tyres, so he's going for that long strategy, I presume, as I spin. Oh, I didn't even mean to spin there. I just got the throttle way too early. But my tyres are cold. I'll try not to delay this. I'll try and catch up with the rest of the field. But yeah, you take it away, Scott, with the tyre strategies.
Yeah, so we've got a nice little mix of trial strategies. You won't be able to see it, of course, but I'll run it through very quickly. Crc PR, Real DC and Rapid F1, 1, 2 and 3, all on the hard compound tyres. P4 and 5, Crc and Indian Jesus opting for the mediums. P6, Staban, the one outlier in the field. He is on the red stripe soft, so definitely keep an eye on him in this early stint. 7, 8, 9 and 10, Aizen, King 5 Panda, J Hartnell and KXI opting for those white stripe hard tyres. Nacho and P11, another medium runner in there with Glow Stick and Polishman, 12 and 13, also on the hards. Tobes, like you've seen, on the hards, and that means the rest of your field, 14, 15, 16, 18 on the mediums. So it is a nice little split. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of the cars on the hards, 7 of them on the mediums, and a single lone Alfa Romeo in P6 on the soft tyre. So Staban, I mean, a two-stop isn't out of the realms of possibility. It isn't the biggest pit lane for time loss, and especially if you get a virtual safety car or a safety car, it could pay massive dividends for him at some stage during this Grand Prix. But it's whether that safety car comes out, which isn't off the table, and when it comes out, that'll be key to these strategies. I do believe you're right in saying if it's a purely dry race here, Jamie, and a purely non-safety car race, the hard medium is definitely the best strategy. You can take those hards long, you get a little bit of it, you get undercut a little bit by the early mediums, but then your fresh medium versus slightly worn hards on no fuel or very low fuel is going to give you a massive pace advantage. We've got the final cars then coming into the grid spot. Jamie, don't mess up into the grid spot here. Yeah, I want 0.1 metres, my friend.
I'll try not to, mate. Just keep it down on all the drivers. Points to the left. Obviously, I'm not going to race. Perfect. Purple.
A nice little purple pit box for Jamie. Rest of the drivers, apart from J Hartnell, seeming to get that. But it is going to be 5 red lights here in the circuit of the Americas. Lights out and away we go. Crc PR leading from Real DC as we have the climb up the hill towards turn 1. The Mercedes alongside the Haas into turn 1 goes towards the apex, leaves just enough room, but IRT Crc sneaking on through from P4 up into P2, Rapid back into P3, and DC going for the move for P1 down to P4 as a result of a poor line and a little bit of contact between the two. Staban up a place from P6 into P5, and that most of the packet seems making it through this first lap pretty clean and pretty on contact. And just as I say that, Bunny's having a little bit of contact with Polishman.
Oh, he hit
and then contact connecting Tobes or Dragon.
Oh, yeah, he spun and he made contact with Tobes, and I had to take involved in that shit too because I can't get involved in any incidents, can't be reported, being a commentator. I just made contact with J Hart now. I didn't know if I was ahead of him during the virtual, but it looks like he's ahead for the time being then. So yeah, this virtual safety car is currently out. It looked like a decent first opening laps of this race in the first sector, with a few drivers further back here going side by side, but having to back out of it, of course, not wanting to make contact. So unfortunately, Buddy is behind me in P18. I'm not quite sure if he's sustained any damage. Well, yeah, he has. He's lost his wing, so he's definitely sustained damage, unfortunately, and will have to come to the pit lane with me and not retire, because I have to retire, but not him. Polishman has lost his wing too, I can see, from my rear wing. So unfortunately, those two have made contact in the first lap. Did those two make contact with each other, or was it different?
Yeah, so Polishman, it was through turn number 7 or 8, I believe it was. Polishman just going in a little bit too hot, I think you would say. It was turn 7, the left-hander, going a little bit too hot, diving to the apex. Bunnies was given a little bit of a compromise line, just leaving a bit of room for anybody on the inside, and Polishman just over-egging it into the corner, making a bit of contact with the rear. That spun him into the wall. It unsettled Bunny's car a little bit, and that, of course, made the Bunny spin. We saw a Ferrari then make contact with Bunny's, and I don't think there was any wing damage for then. I think that is how Bunny's actually got the front wing damage, surprisingly. It was his front wing making contact with the front tyre of one of the Ferraris. Indian Jesus, though, crucially, a 5-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags. Staban's went really wide there through turns number, I believe, 6 and 7, and Aizen getting a 5-second penalty. Nacho getting a 5-second penalty for ignoring you. This restart after the virtual safety car, catching quite a few drivers out, and one of them, again, Nacho, who's had a spin at the end of the first sector. I think you're back in the comms booth officially now, Jamie. It's been a bit of a chaotic start to this Grand Prix.
Yeah, it has. I've seen a few people swap positions as well, and crucially, Steve Van's up into P4, but move might be on going down here into turn 11 with Crc, who just lost their position to Rapid, the exit of turn 11, so Rapid's ahead of Crc with a great move indeed, bit of contact as well, but rubbing his race as they said, and Rapid's up into P2. Crack on the medium compound tyres wants to be pulling away from the rest of them, including Steve Van as well, to try, well, including the hard runners, that must be said, to try and build up a gap before he has to make a pit stop. I think he made a mistake in that triple right hand, saw in the foreground riding on board with Steve Van that the McLaren driver was struggling just a bit in that triple right hander there, whether he'd taken a flat out or not in these early stages I'm not quite sure, but as we ran off lap 2 then DRS will be enabled, and we'll see the overtaking actually start to happen as Rapid sets the fastest lap of this race as we make our run up into turn 1. What's Steve Van going to do? Will he try to overtake into turn 1 or try and stay behind waiting for the DRS? He can't afford to stay behind these guys because the softs will be at their best now, but about 4 or 5 last times they'll start to die. Look at that, he might fancy a move. No, he backs out of it. I thought he was going to do it, you know, because he was applying the ERS at the exit of turn 2, but bails out of it as he continues to put Crc under huge pressure. But I don't think Crc will be too bothered knowing that Steve Van's on the soft compound tyres then, so I might let him go to try and just stick with the DRS with the rest of them and focus on his own race with Indian Jesus there in P5 with a 5-second time penalty too for ignoring yellow flags, unfortunately for him, along with Aizen too, so that's going to be detrimental for his race and his championship too, as they're all tied on points, the top 3. But Steve Van on board with him then with the DRS enabled. Crc looks like he's using the battery to just slightly pull ahead of him, and that'll compromise Steve Van even more in P4. Jack behind has overtaken King Thai Panda, who moves himself up into P7 in the McLaren. Zolf on his debut here has overtaken KXI, started P15 and now to P9, so a great start for him. He too also being on those medium compound tyres, looking to try and make his way through the field, as Steve Van very close behind the Haas driver, but can't find a way past him unfortunately, and his best bet was at turn 1 as well, as KXI has re-overtaken the Alpha Tauri, so I think he must have made a mistake out of there, because it's not really a conventional overtaking place at the exit of turn 16 unless you're side by side, but he wasn't, so I think he just lost traction or something like that, and unfortunately followed behind him to get into P10. But here we are then, fastest lap start to come as we head through turn 1. Is Steve Van close enough? No, he's too far behind, but he can't afford to stay behind him as he takes a wider angle into turn 1, and Indian Jesus there was right behind him too, but Steve Van with those soft compound tyres getting a better exit. But waiting at the pouts, the best place at turn 12. Obviously Crc has got that DRS too, but yeah, it's going to ruin Steve Van's race if he can't find his way past.
Yeah, just a little bit of update as well with the situation of the race. I just had a strange one for me, a phone call from one of the drivers, and apparently they were just wanting to know what we saw in the columns. Apparently for some of the drivers it was like still under yellows and people had started racing, so I think just maybe this virtual safety car, either the UI glitch coming into fruition, or maybe just some of the drivers getting a little bit caught out with how slow it was to end, and that's why we see like the field DC down 12 positions here. A man that's up 12 positions though, Jamie Airline, not Jack, making a move on Aizen, carving his way through this field. Tove's up 6 as well, but I think we're generally settled in. There is a few drivers though, 5-second penalties for speeding under the yellow flags or overtaking under the yellow flags, and I think it has just been a little bit of a UI glitch. It is disappointing to see because it has affected a few drivers' races. However, it's a weird one. We've seen it before, but we'll see it again. It's just one of the quirks, and I think it does happen a little bit more often at this circuit. I'm not too sure if you know anything about that, Jamie.
No mate, not at this particular circuit, and I've not known about it in general to be honest, but yeah, it's a strange one. I got away from the virtual safety car quite fine, but unfortunately these guys didn't, and yeah, unfortunately he's dropped them down into P14 DC, lost 12 places, so hopefully he can try and find his way up to the field again. Jack in P6 started in 18th behind me, or in front of me, and he's up into P6, so what a great start there from not Jack. It looks like Indian Jesus started to put pressure on Steve, and he's actually overtaken him too in an unconventional overtaking place, or unconventional place to overtake I must say, and he's up into P4. So look like Steve Van starts to feel the effects of the dyed soft compound tyres, and unfortunately couldn't really utilise them to his perfection and try and make his way through up the field there. But that's a strange one being on the soft compound tyres started. Well, he did sacrifice a set of softs, but I thought we used them later on just in case there is that late safety car. But this early in the race, the start of the race, looks like it's not proven to be the right strategy for him, as Rapid continues to close down ILT Crc, and also Crc has got a 3-second time penalty for abusing the track limits, as Jay Hartnell and DC continue to swap positions, as I think DC did get a good exit out of turn 11. And just further behind I can see Dragon on Speed versus Nacho, as Nacho's up into P15. Lost 5 places at the start of the Grand Prix, did Nacho, but he's trying to make his way through the field as well yet again. As you can see there, we've got Aza right behind Jack, who's trying to close down Stevan as the soft compound tyres continue to degrade on the Alfa Romeo, as looks like a pit stop might be imminent for him shortly. Let's see when he decides to dive into the pit lane then, as we head onto lap 5 or lap 6, with Crc still in this race ahead of Rapid. Nacho and Dragon of Speed have got a 3-second time penalty too, for good measure, so we've seen a lot of track limits here. Tobe started P17 up into P10, and he overtook him before turn 1 on the hard compound tyres, looking to go for a long stint in this race before he goes on the mediums. DC once again overtakes Jay Hartnell, puts his Mercedes up into P13. So it's a shame that for DC there, as he's in a fight with Crc and Indian Jesus in the championship, not what he wants whatsoever. But bearing in mind though, Indian Jesus does have to serve a 5-second time penalty during his pit stop, so he'll lose a lot of time there, and he might find himself behind a few cars and into traffic. But here we are on the straight with Crc in the lead ahead of Rapid. Crc in P3, lost 2 positions at the start of the Grand Prix, and Rapid will try and overtake Crc if he can, which he does, pulls to the right hand side, overtakes him up into P1, and let's see how this race will fall for him then, as Crc is on the mediums as well. So I wonder if those mediums maybe overheated a bit in terms of his setup, because it looks like he's been struggling left, right and centre, especially at the exit of corners. Jack and Azen having a scrapping for P6, but Jack just holds on for the time being ahead of Azen. But those mediums though for Crc in P2, looks like they start to slide around a lot, causing a lot of tyre temperature problems. As you can see, this right-hander there just understeering as he tries to stick with Rapid into turn 19. We go for him. Takes a wider angle, but it doesn't seem to work, as he couldn't carry the speed through turn 19 there for Crc, who dominated the Mexican Grand Prix. But here in USA, he's got a lot of work in his hands too. King's Panda has overtaken KXI, and also we've got Tobes up there too, fighting alongside him. KXI has DRS, I don't think King's Panda does. In fact, she actually does, to be honest, as he was a second away from the detection point. But here he is, Tobes around the outside of KXI into turn 1. As let's see who comes out on top of this battle. A bit of contact too for good measure, but KXI just stays ahead of Tobes for the time being in P9.
Yeah, KXI run a little bit wide through turn 19, had to surrender the position to King Phi Panda, and gave an opportunity for Tobes to just stick it down the inside into the final corner. The DRS, you've caught it quite a few times already, Jamie. It really is a powerful tool down here in Kota, because it is such a long back straight here. Crc is probably going to use it once again for not the first and definitely not the last time of this Grand Prix. Just how much he can close up on the rear of that Alpine, moves to the inside to get the apex early for turn 12, and well, it's not even going to be a contest of whose corner that is. Crc well and truly ahead. Of course, setups, you're mentioning tyre temps as well. That is a huge part of it, the setups around here. You need that aero stability to be able to do these rapid succession, particularly the first sector, the left, right, Maggots and Beckett's-esque kind of corners. These long right-handers, you need stability through these kind of corners to keep the car planted so that it doesn't just skide away underneath you. You don't, any kind of sharp turn, just making you lose the car completely. But at the same time, you need that straight line speed. And also the extra aero, it adds to the tyre temp problem that we get around here. So it is a very finicky circuit with the setup kind of thing and the whole strategy side of it. And speaking of the strategy side of things, Esteban is into the pits at the end of lap number 7, start of lap number 8, and it is going to be a set of yellow walled mediums on that Alfa Romeo. Looks as if he's going to come out just behind Dragon in P16, ahead of Polish Man and Bunnies, who also had to make an early stop after the lap van shenanigans. So Esteban, it could play out in the long run. I don't know if the 20 laps in the mediums is possible. It could be. It could very well be, as a few more drivers picking up 3 seconds there, Jamie. But Esteban maybe going to try and push these tyres and go all the way to the end. Time will tell on that, but not Jack. Has had a bit of an incident himself at the end of the first sector. Facing the wrong way is the McLaren, and or the start of the second sector, I should say, sorry. I don't know if there was contact. I don't know if you caught that, Jamie.
No, I didn't, but I think somebody else has spun at turn 1. Is that Bunny's who's gone for a spin at turn 1? There's a yellow flag down there next to his car, or on his cars. Glow stick is ahead of Zolf of P9. But I think Tobes dropped out of the order too, when he was taking avoided action from the spinning McLaren, I'm not quite sure, but Tobes has lost the position for certain. And King Thai Panda is up into P6, looking to put pressure on Azim ahead of him. But Stefan, I thought he'll be in the pit lane very shortly, because he was 3 seconds away from Indian Jesus before he made that pit stop, so he was losing a lot of time between himself and Indian Jesus, and the rest of the field would have caught up too. So he had to make that pit stop. For that two-stop strategy, is going to work? I'm not quite sure. 20 laps on the mediums, I think it's going to be a bit of a stretch really. The tyres will be dead towards the end for sure, but I think he'll do a two-stop from soft, medium, because he'll be on old tyres, whereas the rest of the grid will be on newer tyres with his hards, mediums or softs. As Jack lost it, he's crashed, he's hit the wall, and he's at the outside wall, not the inside, and the virtual safety car has been deployed as well, and close Stefan, I thought he almost had a moment out of the final corner too, but Jack's in the pit lane then as he calls the VSC, just lost it and hit the outside wall, which you don't really see many people do that. It's usually the inside where Tobes crashed in qualifying, and a replacement from wing is necessary for the McLaren driver. Looks like he was doing quite well as well inside the top 10, but I think that spin at the exit of turn 9 just overheated his tyres, and yeah, just caused the effect at turn 19 when he tried to go to the throttle, but lost the back end, and unfortunately he's dropping down into P17 with Bunnies in 18th place, who spun at turn 1 as a lap ago.
Yes, I do believe he is. He is a little bit. He was racing up there with Polish man. Now well clear. 30 seconds, of course, in the Delta, but that's all about the virtual safety car, and it's getting messed a little bit with not Jack pitting. Back to green flag racing though, so not even a full lap, so no chance for any of the cars to maybe make a quick strategy call and dive into the pits. Polish man with a 3-second time penalty for corner and track limits as King 5 Panda and Aizen have a little battle through turn 12 at the end of that DRS straight. It's an interesting bit when the virtual safety car restarts in a bit like that, Jamie, of course, because it does record the detection. It does record if you're within a second of the car in front, or if the car behind's within a second, and if it goes back to green flag racing halfway down that straight, you can use the DRS, and that's exactly what we've seen there with King 5 Panda and Aizen, the two of them battling it out through there. Glow stick was getting very loosey-goosey through the double right-hander of 17 and 18. A little bit of a track extension as well. That probably is a warning to add to his penalty troubles as things stand. But lap 10 of this Grand Prix, I must admit, I'm a bit disappointed that virtual safety car didn't last a little bit longer, Jamie, because I think we could have saw a few bold strategy calls from maybe the medium runners to pull into the pits and go on to the hards. We'll wait and see how it all plays out. No proper safety car yet, so the pack, although not really too far separated, there is little gaps here and there, and I think Bunnies is really struggling, maybe with some rear wing or side pod damage, or maybe with some, that isn't a possibility, it's on regular, so it must maybe just be a setup issue for the Canadian. Out of place a little bit down in P18.
Yeah, currently known as last as well, unfortunately for Bunnies, who spun twice now. India Jesus is up into P3. I think Crc has had a problem here because he's now 2.1 seconds away from Rapid. He was 1.1 seconds away, so he lost a second somewhere on the last lap. Maybe in that first sector, but he's dropped behind India Jesus now as he puts the Aston Martin into P3. KXI versus Tobes into turn 12. But KXI stays in P7 for the time being. Stefan is ahead of DC, capitalising on those medium compound tyres, looking to do that two-stop strategy, so fully pushing from stint to stint, and he's also 9/10 up in the middle sector as well, so that indicates how much the fresh tyres benefits you as we continue to watch then Rapid, Indy Jesus and Crc, as Rapid's right behind Crc as well. This was the scenario back in Mexico when they were first and second, but Crc continues to pull the gap over Rapid, and this time Rapid looks like he's got the upper hand, being on the hard compound tyres. No, he doesn't now, as he hit him into turn 1 and just outbroke himself, and Indy Jesus will be there too, so I thought saying that would be under the upper hand. He's just lost 1.5 seconds to him.
Indeed, Jesus and Crc will be licking their chops at that site now. That Alpine firmly within the DRS, so it gives Crc a little bit of breathing room. Well, Rapid and Crc, I suppose, still in the net sort of lead when you add in the penalties. It is, of course, a 5-second stop go that'll be served in the pits for Indian Jesus and a 3-second track limits penalty for IRT Crc. But maybe just with that little bit of the squabbling that could happen here behind him. Crc could pull out a bit of a gap, and here's the first part of the squall then. Indian Jesus absolutely flying by with the assist of the DRS on the run down to turn 12. Crc Iii finds himself in that interesting position we've seen all too many times, particularly in Tier 1, where the first two can overtake each other with the help of DRS and nobody else behind. But Crc Ii's putting that theory to rest as he goes from a move from 2 back on King 5 Panda. Easing flew past the Alpine. Crc Ii getting a nice bit of run, using a bit of ERS, and gets the move done up into P6. Tobes in this battle alongside Glowstick just out of the DRS range as Panda and Crc Ii squirm again through the final sector, both of them getting their elbows out a little bit, and maybe just borderline hard racing from the two, because Crc Ii now having to defend from Tobes on the inside. As a result, Tobes will have the apex here for turn 19, but has to take a slower compromised line, knowing the Red Bull's there, and Crc Ii a brilliant bit, just leaving enough room for the Ferrari and maximising his speed through the corner back into P7. Esteban battling through this field, Jamie, already up into P10. If he can make those mediums last, they are going to be very, very sketchy towards the end of this Grand Prix. Solf has a dive and a half. A little bit of an opportunistic move. I don't think it was ever going to materialise into an overtake, but we'll wait and see how Esteban's tyres last, Jamie, but maybe not one to write off just yet.
I don't think there's speed. Well, look at the speed he's carrying on the Mercedes, but I don't want to send it down the inside. He's got a lot of corner speed, but doesn't want to get too greedy with it, because it's very tempting to make overtakes in non-conventional places. But now he's able to turn 9 ahead of Glowstick. He puts himself up into P9. But that battle now between the top 4, they're back together again, as they were separated from DRS after Rapid's mistake into turn 1. So Indian Jesus has gained a lot of lap time on Crc. Looks like he's got some decent pace, but unfortunately has got that 5-second tap on to serve in the pit lane due to the VSC, and unfortunately he can't get it removed either after the race, after he has to serve it in the pit lane. Esteban is up into P8 ahead of Tobe, so he's flying through this field. Is the Alfa Romeo driver. Push. I don't think he's saving tyres. I think he's absolutely going for it from soft, medium. But it's a very interesting strategy call, got the soft compound tyres at this early stage of the Grand Prix. The soft's not really being a great race tyre at all. It's more like a qualified tyre or a sprint tyre if the safety car comes out later in this race. But now he's on the medium compound tyres in his second stint. I think we'll put on the medium compound tyres later on as well, or the softs, depending on how many he's got. But you can see he's all over the rear wing. A Crc Ii as he almost hits the back of him too. Double locks up in the final corner, but he'll set himself up nicely as we head on the main straight then, with DRS on board with both of them. But here he is, Esteban alongside the Red Bull as we head into turn 1, and Esteban should have this done, and he puts himself up into P7. Next to ahead of him is King 5 Panda and Aizen for P5. But the top 4 then, let's see what happens between those two. 2 of them having a penalty and 2 do not. One's for track limits and the other one with a 5-second time penalty. And now, I say 2 of them, 3 of them have got a 3-second time penalty. So Crc Iii, if he sticks with this DRS trail of the whole race, could be in a great position with these 3 having a penalty. I keep jinxing Rapid twice, because I said he was in a great position at second place. Then he's hit the back of Crc, and then I talked about penalties. He gets one himself.
Well, we all know commentators' curse is a real thing, but you're laying it on thick tonight. Crc Iii then effectively the net race leader in that way. Just jump back to the ban very quickly as we do have yellow flags in the first sector. I believe that's Polishman having a spin on turn number 7. Esteban though currently 13.5 seconds off the leader. Now he's got fresher tyres and now he's making up time. They've still got to make a stop. There is the argument as he goes around the outside of King 5 Panda that he also has to make a stop. So is his maybe goes to a fresh set of mediums a bit later or goes for another undercut? Is the possibility of him capitalising on that 2-stop and cutting through the field once again? We'll wait and see. Indian Jesus though has pulled the trigger for those front 4, Jamie, and into the pits after 13 laps. I'll be amazed if we see anything other than the white striped hearts. Yes, we do, but he has of course got to serve that 5-second time penalty. Would bring him into that sort of middle pack just between the top 3 and the rest of the pack. There was about a 10-second gap between those top 4 there, so they're going to be in a little bit of a world of his own. His teammate, I believe, has had another spin looking at the map in the final sector. It'd be disaster if he caused the safety car now for his teammate all the way down in P11, but we'll see if that gives any more. And just as I say that, that is commentator's curse. It's the finest. Rapid out of this Grand Prix at the start of the second sector through turn 7, 8, 9, I believe it is, Jamie. and one of our leading pack out of the Grand Prix just as one of them enters the pits, and I think Indian Jesus might lose. I don't think he'll lose much here. I think he'll still be in P3, but we should see most of the cars in the pits now.
Yeah, unfortunately for Indian Jesus, the safety cars came out at the wrong time because he has to stick to a delta, and the top 3 can pit to go, well, the top 2 can pit. I think Steve Van Wisely might have to go to the pit lane now to go on the medium compound tyres. You don't want to be in first place on all the tyres. I know the gap is 6 seconds or 6 laps between the tyre difference, but still, it's a huge difference in this game module. So he'll drop down the order if he stays out of P3 on those medium compound tyres. But the rest of them behind have to make a stop anyway, so you might as well take that pit stop because he won't lose anything, I don't think. Maybe towards the Dear Jesus. But this the dream for ILT Crc to get off those mediums to go on the hard compound tyres. But bearing in mind though, at the crossover point now between the hards and the mediums, or halfway points, so Crc PR will be in the medium compound tyres towards the end of this Grand Prix. Put the pressure on Crc, and let's see how it unfolds. I think Crc PR is in a really great position here. As 1, he's on the medium compound tyres, and 2, he doesn't have a 3-second tyre penalty. So, looks to me, without any commentator's curse, to be a favourite to win this Grand Prix, as Zolf has got a 3-second drive-through penalty for speeding on the safety car, so he won't be able to serve it whilst the safety car is out. And Tobes gets a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane, so quite a few penalties have been picked up in the virtuals and the actual safety cars, and I didn't think it would be that difficult to not pick up penalties here. Well, have I had any trouble with safety car out?
It's surprising. It catches more people out than you'd think. I suppose it's with things like that big long straight, and then you've got a hard break and then quite a slow, twisty technical section in that third sector. I can see that maybe catching a few with the drive-throughs. The pit lane as well. Yeah, I don't think there's much excuse. I do apologise to Toves when I say this. I don't think there's much excuse in getting a drive-through or a 5 second, sorry, for speeding into the pits under a safety car. He is in P6, so it's not really. It's one of those, do you pit again and just change another set of tyres and get the 5 second out of the way? But then there could be another safety. It's all up in the air. You've got nothing, but there's no real way to come back from it other than just racing hard, driving fast. So we'll see how that plays out. Indian Jesus, I thought was maybe going to lose out a position or two, but the gap was big enough between the front 4 before he pit, and of course Rapid exited this race early to the rest of the pack that he's been able to slot in P3, but has of course got 1 extra life used on those hards. And most of the grid then, bar Crc, Indian Jesus and Nacho, on to the hards. I'm pretty sure we've got a couple of double medium runners, although I could be wrong. No, every car has now used 2 compounds, of course. Those that started on the mediums or have done a medium have done another tyre compound earlier in the race. So this is effectively what the tyres were looking at, everybody running to the end here. So Indian Jesus, Crc and Nacho could be very, very weak in this opening stage of the restart. Of course, it's easier to warm the mediums. They've got a bit more grip to them. But maybe towards the end, if there's no more virtual safety cars or safety cars that could prompt the flurry into the pits, you never know, you could see them use a bit of pace through. But the next few laps under restart are going to be crucial for those 3 to keep within a DRS train and keep things going. The other thing that could of course affect this race, Jamie, penalties. We've seen plenty of them so far. Crc, Staban, Glowstick, Dragon on Speed and Polishman all with 3 seconds. We have Tobes in P6 with 5 seconds, Nacho in P11 with 6 seconds, and then the worst of them all, Solf, down in P14 with a drive-through that is really going to knock him about 20-30 seconds easy down from the pack. So his race really dependent on another safety car or a flurry of retirements. 12 laps to go after this one though. Every tyre's easily going to make it to the end. You've got to say Crc PR in a brilliant position, but don't discount the likes of Staban and King 5 Panda, and even Eason. No pens could be the deciding factor here in this race. We'll see how it all plays out though, of course, towards the end.
I actually muted myself. Did you when you stopped talking? Did you when you stopped talking? I was actually talking. when you started talking, I was like, thanks for interrupting, and I realised I was on mute.
I kind of want to, normally you hear if you nip away or you let us know, I'll be back in a second. I was kind of wondering, what's Jamie doing? But I think we've all done that before. I think the famous one is having your controller on mute and your headset on mute, and you unmute one and not the other one, and the other guy's standing there talking to you, and or you're talking back, and I.
Well, do you stand up when you commentating?
No, I like to sit down. I've got little legs; they get sore.
I know the feeling, Scott. We're both the same height.
Oh, built like a pair of gnomes we are. Safety car in this lap, Jamie. We're going to get back racing on lap 17. It will give us a 12-lap sprint to the end then.
Apparently, according to Zolf, Steven's got a 5-second time penalty for severe collision with Indian Jesus. That's going to be detrimental towards the end of the Grand Prix too. Looks like he had some great pace. This safety car's really helped him, because he'll have to make up a lot of deficit once he makes his two-stop strategy. So he didn't have to do that. But unfortunately, he's got a 5-second time penalty now. So that's going to be very costly towards the end of the Grand Prix. Crc and Indian Jesus don't have a penalty, as Indian Jesus benefited from that safety car to get rid of it. But he's on the hard compound tyres. But we'll see if he's able to stick with these guys towards the end of the Grand Prix once those hard starts play to his favours. But according to Zolf, game booked. I got an invite under Delta, and the game just gave it a drive-through penalty. Well, when you got an invite, were you in the red zone, mate? But that's kind of crazy. Make sure you record the footage and send it later, because I want to see that. But here we are, ILT Crc. A bit of contact. What's he doing? He just slowed right down and caused a massive pile-up. Steven has completely cut the track and got into pit lane, and somebody else in the pit lane too. This is a massive disaster already. ILT Crc has got a 1.5-second gap. Zolf, this is a disaster. Look at this. I've got a lot of drivers are dropping down the order. Some have got penalties, and they're all over the place. I don't even know what's going on anymore. But into turn 1, Aiden's ahead of Tobes, and Crc's built a 1.2-second gap now towards Crc. And Steven's in the pit lane, probably due to a damage from wing, I think it was, but he's on the hard compound tyres then, so he'll take them towards the end. He don't have any softs or mediums left, does he? Oh, he's retired in the pit lane, so that's a shame there for Steven. Looks like we're in a really great position until that happened. You're not supposed to slow down like that.
Yeah, it's you're allowed to slow and control the pack to whatever pace you desire, but you need to keep a steady and constant pace. And what Crc has done wrong there is he's half went, kept a consistent pace, and then just stopped before the final corner. The safety car was well in. It wasn't as if he panicked that he's not going to be able to get away, but I definitely see that being investigated later on by the stewarding team, and probably reported by a few drivers. We'll wait and see on that. In the meantime, King 5 Panda trying to go round the outside through turn number 13, gets it done. The superior traction on the mediums showing it through, and the same with Crc. He's used those mediums to gap Indian Jesus in this early stage. I'm surprised that none of the other drivers have picked up any sort of wing damage and came into the pits. We saw, of course, Solf has served his drive. No, he hasn't served his drive through, has he? No, he has. He just picked up a couple other penalties for blocking, which I'm assuming has got something to do with that. With that restart. Crc, speaking of penalties, picks up 3 seconds, but it's been you can maybe tell we're a little bit disorientated here, Jamie, just with what has actually happened.
Yeah, a lot has gone off, and Crc already in one lap has pulled a 3-second gap towards Crc. I wonder if Crc sustained a little bit of damage, with that. I don't want to say pile up, but what's the right word to use in that situation? I can't even think right now, but the gap is 3.2 seconds. You would have thought Crc would be quicker at this stage of the Grand Prix on those medium compound tyres, but it turns out Crc's got some decent pace, and considering he's got a 3-second time penalty, he might actually able to build that gap and win this race. But Tobes and Glowstick are going side by side. They're into turn 11. Looks like Glowstick's got ahead of Tobes, as Zolf picks up another 3-second time penalty. He's got 16 seconds of penalty, so he's been very close to disqualification if he's not very careful. But as we head down into turn 12, there's no DRS enabled because you're going to wait 2 laps when the safety car comes in, and that's when we'll see some more overtaking. But so far, ILT Crc has got a safety buffer of 2/10, unless he picks up a 3-second time penalty. We're hoping that Crc will pick up a 3-second time penalty, because that will relieve the pressure off his shoulders. But so far, he's got to keep an eye on that gap. Crc on those mediums, hopefully can get back into form, trying to recollect himself after that safety car. Maybe not to be too happy about that one. But I wonder why he's dropped 3 seconds, because during that safety car he was right behind him, then all of a sudden lost a lot of time. So I'm quite sure what's happened to him. King Panda's on the podium, but he's under pressure from Indian Jesus, and Indeed, Jesus on the hards, whereas King Panda's on the mediums. But we'll see. As we head into turn 1, that's Mercedes up the inside. That's glow stick on Aizen there, but not able to pull it off. Optimistic move, almost made it work, but Aizen was on the racing line and ahead into the apex as Nacho is ahead of DC for P9. DC hasn't got any 3-second time penalties, but he dropped down the order dramatically, I think, at the start of the race. His punishment picks up a 3-second time penalty, and Zolf has retired in the pit lane then, so we won't see him for the remainder, unfortunately, as he picked up a lot of penalties so far. Glowstick and Tobes are still going at it. I think Glowstick's made a mistake, and now here's Tobes on the back of Aizen there. Aizen does not have the DRS, so he might be exposed down the straight, headed into turn 11. But here we are then. Tobes needs a decent exit because Glowstick's still right behind him, and you've got Jay Hartnell down there in P82, did a great job for Alfa Romeo. Here comes Tobes on the hat of Aizen. Easy overtake, just blast past him like it was nothing. And here is Jay Hart now. Oh, Mercedes on Glowstick makes contact and lost his end plate too, as he outbroke himself there, tried to defend from Jay Hart now, and had nowhere to go, unfortunately, other than being off the track, and he's lost his end plate too, so he might have to head off into the pit lane with his teammate right behind him.
Yeah, a little bit of unfortunate contact there.
Scott,
oh.
have you seen the comments? Have you seen the comment section? ILT Crack has put, "Sorry guys, bad restart." So he's just said that while I was driving. He's 2.7 seconds now ahead of Crc Iii, so he's managed to find some time to pause and comment.
He has lost a little bit of time recently to Crc, but that's a very bold way of doing it, I suppose. Apologising in the comments. It was, I mean, I don't think you'll mind me saying this, it was a very contentious restart, I think it could be said. On the penalty front as well, there is a few drivers getting close off the penalties. There's one of them, Tobes, on 3 seconds. Crc is, by the looks of things, another one. Crc Iii and Indian Jesus, though, only one apiece, if my reading's correct, so maybe not come into that. But it's at this stage of the Grand Prix, Jamie. I think we're going to see a little bit of elbows out. We're going to see a little bit of maybe wheel banging here and there, because this grid is very tight. There isn't much between a lot of these drivers. They're all in the same compound, in the same life of tyres, bar 3 of them, of course, out there. Nacho, Indian Jesus and Crc. And this is when things could start to really ramp up. We'll see how it plays out here. We've got 8 laps to go, I believe, in this Grand Prix. Jay Hartnell uses that DRS to great effect. We've seen it once, we've seen it a million times tonight. Really just soaring down that back straight. But Aizen really close to the rear of the Alfa Romeo, gets a little bit loose on the throttle for a brief second, manages to hold it in and catch it. Fought for a very brief second there, about sending it down his inside like a kipper, decides not to do so, and DC is now lurking in the background. These 3 cars separated by just under half a second is Jay Hartnell from Aizen from real DC, and maybe a run up the hill from one, if not both of the trailing cars could come into fruition. But ERS, a little bit of a detriment, not just for those two, for the majority of the grid here, Jamie. A lot of them burnt their taxi early, as Jay Hartnell has a little bit of a wiggle out the final corner, off onto the right little runoff area down the straight. Aizen down the inside, DC lurking in there, manages to stick the nose in enough to get a warranted bit of track position and gets the move done. A nice little move from DC on the recovery drive here. Tobes right on the rear of Indian Jesus, and aside from that, well, you say that, there is this nice little train all the way from Aizen down to P11 of Dragon on speed, but the front 4, Jamie, all starting to gap out a little bit. Crc Iii within the 3 seconds of Crc. I think you might be on mute again, Jamie.
Yeah, I am. I tried to speak there. I was speaking on your stops, but yeah, the gap between Crc Iii and Crc is 2.5 seconds. The reason I mute myself is because I don't want any background noise. I don't want you to hear me coughing either, because unfortunately, after all these months, I've still got that cough. And here comes DC on Aizen, and third in the background, that's Jay Hartnell versus Jack. Jack was the first one to cause the VSC. He's back up into P8. Had a big crash. He was so lucky not to lose his wheel there. He's up into P8 now. He has got a 3-second time penalty or 6. I don't know anymore, but he's doing a good job so far, bringing himself back inside the top 10. And that moment where Crc put himself on pause could could be the race decider of him not winning the race, because he lost a lot of time. If Crc could try and gain on Crc, we'll see. I don't think he'd get his DRS range, but Crc really has to use these tyres, or Crc really has to use these tyres, try to edge himself towards Crc. It's just that safety car restart. I'm not quite sure if Crc got bogged down and surrounded by other drivers or something like that. I was keeping an eye on all of them. I actually kept an eye on Stevan as he just cut the track and went to the pit lane to retire and rage quit. I don't know if he changed that for wing, but he's out of the race anyway, so it doesn't really matter. His glow stick is out as well, a long resolve. But it's been a shame for some drivers there who's sustained some more bad luck recently, such as Stevan. Looks like he was in a really good position in this race to try and get on the podium, it seems. But that safety car really did cost him towards the end of it, and went to the pit lane, retired. More yellow flags. That's an Aston Martin, I think, of Polishman, who's spun, which he has spun, and he hasn't lost his wing. But oh, there's Williams there, Buddies as well, who's spun in the same part, so they both went for a spin. I'm not quite sure if they were together and they made contact, but unfortunately they're down to P13 and P14. Ever since there's a Red Bull spun. That's KXI. KXI's crashed, and a safety car's been deployed again for the second time. With 6 laps left to go, we saw some drivers in qualifying retiring early stages or the late stages, not going for that final lap. Could the soft compound tyres be used, a brand new set? That would definitely pay dividends towards later on the Grand Prix, because I had a race around Abu Dhabi yesterday. I think some of you know that, and I didn't see a set of soft compound tyres where some did. Safety car came out at lap 22, out at lap 27 or 8. I can't remember how long Abu Dhabi is, but that really did cost me because I didn't save a set of soft compound tyres and people swamped me. So yeah, safety cars come out later on. Let's say you saved a set of softs, I could use them towards the end of the Grand Prix.
It's going to be a big deciding factor. Tobes disqualified from the session for illegal blocking. I was about to say, I'm not too sure what he was doing there. Whether it was trying to adjust the strategy or what, but he's slowed down way too much and blocked the pit entry. Of course, I was going to say it could be a disaster for him having to serve this 5 seconds. He's going to lose a lot of positions and then have to go, but he's made the cardinal sin and blocked the pit entrance. All of the drivers then, apart from Not Jack, into the pits for a fresh set of softs, Polishman and Bunnies. This will be great relief for the likes of them. They've had a bit of a turbulent race, it must be said, but a chance that if you just stick in it and survive, well, if all 12 drivers make it to the end here, Jamie, they're all going to score at least 1 point. Not Jack, though, with the bald coil. He has got track position, and those softs, they will die and they will overheat quick, but remember, there's lower fuel in the car, there's less load going through them. So I think he could be in a very vulnerable position out front here on the restart. And the big other thing as well there, although saying that, a few of the drivers are now out of the session, Jamie. Those with penalties, Not Jack and Crc, the main ones at the front, and then the back 4, Natural, Dragon, Polishman and Bunnies. This is really going to maybe detriment them a little bit, because, you know, if you can make it to the end without penalties, you can get some nice, easy, free positions. So essentially it does make Crc our race leader as things stand. King 5 Panda, we saw him have spots of pace, of course, last season and this season, up in there with a potential podium. Indian Jesus and DC as well. Bear in mind, DC having that little incident under the airlight virtual safety car, finds himself back up into P6, potentially a net P4 with pens. We'll see how it all plays out here, Jamie. I think, well, this will be the first lap that the safety cars pick them up. We should do one more, and I think it'll be 25, 26, 27 and 28, the 4-lap sprint to the end here, mate.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Jack, however, could do his teammate a massive favour, because I think it's obvious that 2 McLarens going to swap around. There's no way Jack is going to be out there. I mean, going to be out there for long in the lead, I dare say, because we've seen this plenty of times where people stay out on older tyres and they just tumble down, unfortunately. And he's gone for that strategy. He might help his teammate and block Crc for a few laps or so. He's actually coming in the pit lane. No? I thought he was, because I thought he was trying to avoid the double stack, but I think I'd rather pit and do the double stack, then lose a lot of time, because you caught up to the safety car anyways. But what's happening here? I thought he was letting Crc go for some reason, but obviously he can't overtake under the safety car.
It's yeah, he's kind of just taking a very obtuse line, I think you could almost describe it as. It's a strange one. seems KXI. I'm just trying to reading through it. Apparently, there's maybe been some issue with connection for some of the drivers. But personally, for me, the lobbies looked fine. So whether it's maybe some peer-to-peer connection, I don't think we don't have our usual host of Mazzles here tonight. So I think Crc PR was stepping in as sort of a backup host because DC's as the other tier admin, although it should be him, struggles a little bit with the NAT type. So whether I don't know if there's maybe some peer-to-peer connection issues here tonight, maybe I'm gonna put it down to that, Jamie. Why we've seen a bit of a contentious Grand Prix at times and a bit of some strange and unfortunate events happen. But maybe it's just been an unfortunate internet issue. We might get some footage of that later on. But 4 laps to the end, Jamie. A big thing that could come down to it is who was brave and who's put the lowest wings on their setup to give that straight line speed, because that could make all the difference. We are going to get DRS for a couple of laps at the end, but without that assistance, overtaking could be a little bit trickier. Of course, the subset of that is that you're going to struggle through that first sector and a little bit that third sector with the slightly lower wings. However, fresh softs, it shouldn't be an issue with grip. It's all about keeping them in the right temps. I think, there we go, confirmation. We're going to go back to green flag racing at the start of lap 25. It is going to be a McLaren 1-2, not Jack leading Crc, and we'll see how the sister McLaren decides to take the restart this time, Jamie.
Let's say that he can't back them up like he did in the first safety car because it caused some people issues and caused Steve had to retire, unfortunately. But here we are then on lap 24 out of 28. Who is going to win the USA Grand Prix? The equal on tyres once again. Crc PR, can he stick with ILT Crc like he did not, unfortunately, at the first safety car? But this time round, he should be able to stick with him. He has to dispose Jack very quickly. Jack and Crc in P1 and P2, with Crc PR in P3 and King Pie Panda in P4 as well, looking for a podium after having COVID, I think, last week. I don't know if he's still got it or not, but if he's got it still, hope he gets well soon. But here we are. Let's see where Jack decides to pull the trigger. And Crc knows not to back them up as well because he said it in the comment section, so he knows not to do it again. But Crc, eager and desperate. Here we are then. Jack has gone. Look at King Panda overtaking Crc PR. He's done it already, overtaking him into P3, and here's Crc up the inside into turn 1. He goes on the brakes later, and let's see what happens between Crc PR and Panda. They're going side by side, but Panda is up into P3 now. He has to dispatch Jack very quickly. He can't afford to stay behind him. He knows that Crc has got a 3-second time penalty. This could be a battle for the win, you know, between King Panda and Crc PR, depending if these two can overtake Jack very quickly. Let's see where the first opportunity is. Probably down at turn 11. Just be late on the brakes, use the EOS to pull away. Jack has a slight moment coming out of turn 9. And let's see, down into turn 11, if we'll get him. He actually pulls to the left hand side to defend, and he can't do it. They can't afford to stay. Oh, contact into turn 11. And that was Crc PR who makes contact. Indeed, Jesus is through now. But the gap between Jack and Crc is 2.3 seconds. They're losing a lot of time. This is a dream for Crc, sorry, in P1. And here comes Indeed Jesus on Panda into turn 12. Stays behind it for the time being. But look at this battle. 3 wide going into turn 12 between the Williams, Alpha and the Haas. But looks like they all get out unscathed unless they do it again in turn 13. We've got the Haas up the inside of DC. We've got the Williams around the outside of Jay Hartnell going into turn 13. Now does the switch back. Jay Hartnell down the inside of the Williams of Nacho. But Indeed Jesus there in P4. Look at the back of King Panda, who's currently can't overtake Jack. He's been a whole lap behind him. Now he's done it at turn 19. There's contact too, but luckily not in a spin. And here comes Indeed Jesus, but he actually tags him as well, as Indeed Jesus can't get past him as we head into the final corner on lap 26 out of 28. Here we go then. Jack's not willing to give up, you know, despite being on older tyres. He's going to overtake Indeed Jesus. This is going to frustrate the Indian German in the Aston Martin there. We've got Crc PR on the inside of the Mercedes. Now, oh, Crc PR off the track. And that's a shame there. Looking to try and win this race. Will be on the podium. But Jack being an obstacle has caused a lot of issues. Obviously, he has the right to defend, but other people won't like it, thinking that he's on older tyres. Why is he fighting hard? Why is he fighting with me hard for? But he could help Crc at the end of this race with that 3-second time penalty and still be a roadblock in the way with DC and India Jesus right behind. So King Panda has been released, but DC downwards still can't get past. And here we are into turn 11 there with DC around the outside of Jack. Can he make it stick? Out traction with those soft compound tyres, which he does, but Jack being behind in the slipstream, use that EOS, is looking to come back on DC, which will frustrate the Scotsman, the Englishman even more. And here comes India Jesus though, might take advantage. And the DC's out of the brakes there, but Jack up into P3 as India Jesus and DC have made contact, and here comes Nacho. Oh, more contact as India Jesus then is off the track, and we've got DC versus Nacho. This is a very chaotic race. Nacho losing traction, sliding through the corners there with Jay Hartnell around the outside. Now Crc PR goes down the inside of Jay Hartnell. Jay Hartnell did the same move last lap, but he can't get his stick in Crc PR, tried to fight back. The battle for P3 is intensifying. Jack has got a penalty. DC, Jay Hartnell, Crc PR hasn't. One of those three drivers could be on the podium as DRS is finally enabled. Crc is on course to win this Grand Prix. I thought to be very difficult with that 3-second time penalty and that safety car, but Jack there defending has really helped his teammate, and he's still in P3 despite being on the older compound tyres. As we head down this turn 1, Jay Hartnell's right behind Nacho, but can't make a move there, but you can see him get a bit wide. DC has used all of his EOS there, and Jack's still got 40% in his battery despite being in front of these drivers and defending for all it's worth. But he's still in P3 there, but how long can he last for?
Yeah, Jack, he's played the perfect team game here. Like you say, roadblocking everybody behind, still doing it at the end of this first sector, and looks to me he's running a very low downforce setup, and that just lets him get a little bit of an acceleration down through the straights. He can then cover the inside like it did there. DC getting very close to making a little bit of contact with the rear of the McLaren, but again, even though he's not got the DRS, this has been the first attack that DC has had with the DRS, but it's going to turn into a little bit of a defence as Nacho flies it on by Jay Hartnell, getting in the mix as well here, almost making contact. There's been so many elbows out here, Jamie, which you normally do see when it's a light sprint towards the end of the Grand Prix and Sauce's Club PR, and bunnies go down the inside of Jay Hartnell through that section. Jay Hartnell going back down the inside once again, the third time in a row we've seen him make that move through there as Nacho and DC swap positions by the looks of it once again, but Jack holding them off as well. Crc using that to his best ability and has really bolted away. King 5 Panda going to be comfortably in P2 as things stand, and Bunny's having a little bit of a tank slapper through the double right hander towards the end. But I think, Jamie, it's maybe about to slowly calm down because we are on the final lap. Maybe could be some heroics, hopefully no disasters here, but this battling still going to push on. Nacho trying to make the move on Not Jack. Does look to have got it done this time, but Not Jack hanging around the outside of 2, and that's going to give him the inside to turn 3. Very, very close to contact once again, but Not Jack still holding the rest of this train behind.
Yeah, that battle down at turn 11, there was 3 cars. There was 3 wide between Nacho, DC and Jay Hartnell. Jay Hartnell absolutely flew past, but in the breaker zone, Nacho had the race in line. I was a P4. I thought Nacho was on course for a podium, but he's got a penalty to his name. The battle for the podium was actually between Crc PR and DC, so keep an eye on those two. You never know, those two could pick up podiums as well, or penalties, it must be said. Here comes Nacho with the DRS. Jack somehow is still in P3. Unbelievable. Here comes Nacho. Now he's about to overtake a bit of contact too as we head down into turn 12. Crc PR, keep an eye on him. He's fighting with DC for a podium as Nacho's up into a net P3, but it won't last due to that 3-second time penalty or 6 depending on how many he's got. DC is right behind Jack. His main target is to focus on Crc PR. Here comes Crc PR. Oh, made contact. He's lost his own plate. I thought it was a half-hearted move there. I thought he was going to go up the inside, but he backed out of it. Then went down the inside again. Crc is coming towards the finish line to win the US Grand Prix. King Panda finishing P2, but what's going to happen at the podium there? Because he dragged those speeds up into P6, so I had a bad qualifying. DC, Polishman's got a 3-second time penalty. Here comes Nacho, who'll finish in a net P3, but the final podium position will go to DC despite dropping down the order. And Jay Hartnell is in P5. Unbelievable as well. Crc PR into P4. India Jesus P6. Not Jack in P7. Buddies had a horrendous race, it must be said. He spun quite a few times, but still finds himself in P8. And Nacho fell down to P10. How many penalties did that guy have? Unbelievable.
Yeah, the race, chaotic end to a chaotic race, it must be said. Not Jack, the game's driver of the day. So it is a little bit It was a little bit confusing to keep track with at times there, Jamie, but we managed it in the end. IRT Crack, like you say, taking the win and the fastest lap ahead of King 5, DC, NP3, Cluppy R, J Hartnell, Indian Jesus, Not Jack Bunnies, Dragon on Speed, and Nacho rounding off the top 10. It was 9 seconds for Nacho. Also, with 9 seconds, was Polish Man in the Aston Martin and A's in the last of our finishers, and all 12 of them, of course, guaranteed points with that. But that was a different one, Jamie, it must be said. That was a very, very different one.
I wasn't expecting this race to be that chaotic, considering Saudi Arabia and other tracks, but this one, a lot of action here tonight. And King Panda from P8 to P2, what a great drive from him. And DC, he fell down the order after the first virtual safety car, I think. Clopier in P4, Jay Hartnell in P5 as well. Great result for Jay Hartnell. And Jack, he spun and hit the wall, I think, coming out of the penultimate corner. Can't remember what lap it was a long time ago. He caused the virtual safety car. Bunnies was in last place majority of the race too. But those safety cars and that battling really helped to bring back a contention. And Williams and Nacho, before the time ends, how many penalties did he pick up? Let's have a look before the timer ends. 9 seconds, so explains why he's fallen down into P10. But I thought he was on course for a podium, but I realised how many penalties he picked up, or the penalties he picked up. But this has been a dramatic, crazy race. I thoroughly enjoyed it. A bit of hectic sometimes, a bit chaotic, and well, that's tier 3 for you. It's unpredictable, and we see a lot of things happen. But bear in mind, though, could Crc keep the race win due to that safety car infringement at the final corner, which caused some people to, caused one driver to DNF, and the rest of them split up from that. So we'll see if Crc keeps his win. Could Panda be the race winner post race?
Yeah, I think I'll be honest. I think there could be a little bit of discussion with the stewards just on this race as a whole. I'll be surprised if we don't see a few reports, but provisionally anyway, Jamie, Crc is gonna take the win ahead of Panda and DC. It was a contentious race. I don't know how you feel. Should we get them in for a chat, or will we?
Yeah, I don't mind a chat between the drivers.
We'll see if any of them fancy a little chat. I think there already is a few reports being not talking about, but being ready to be reported. So I think it could be a busy night for the stewards at the next meeting. We'll wait and see how that all pans out, but we'll not talk too much about the incidents that we don't have all the footage. So I'm just seeing. Oh, Jamie, how to make friends and alienate people, is that not?
What are you talking about, man? I just tagged him and said join interviews. I don't know why you're laughing.
We'll get them all in. They should all have access to the tier 3 party anyway.
There's one of them.
We do have one, and it was RP2, King 5 Panda, and we'll see. I don't know if Crc or DC are going to join us, but
Crc says in the chat, definitely a 5-second penalty coming my way, I would say. So that's why I was trying to build the gap to Panda. So he thinks he's going to get a 5-second time penalty, but the gap towards the line was 4.2. So he could get a penalty if he does get reported, or let's leave it down to the stewards and think next week what happens. But we've got one driver in, which is King Panda. King Panda, mate, welcome back to the podium. It's been a while, hasn't it? It's been a while since I've spoken to you.
Yeah, it's been a while, yeah, I must admit. I don't know what to say really about the first few weeks. Don't know what to say. I would just, no consistency, nothing. And then obviously around France I had to quit, didn't I, because I had COVID and couldn't carry on.
Are you better now?
Go on. I am now, yeah. I still got the cough a little bit, but much better. Since I've come back, I've been racing in other leagues, and I found more consistency over a race around most tracks. So for me, I don't know what's happened. It's like a mental reset or something.
You're probably just drained and exhausted back in France or something.
More than likely.
Yeah, but it's nice to see you back on the podium. I can't actually remember majority of the race, but I do remember the first stint it was just about between the top four, as the rest of the guys are too far behind. I think you were in that midfield fight between Hayes and Clerpior, Steve O'Cakes, and Tobes, and the rest of them. But were you expecting a podium at all in this race? Did that ever, when do you think the podium was on your way?
When I got past Not Jack after the last safety car, when I got past Not Jack, because the way he was defending really well. So as soon as I knew I'd get past him, I could pull away, and that was when I knew P2 was on the cards. Other than that, I wouldn't have fought P2 at all. I'd been happy with P8, to be fair, at the start of the race.
Yeah, that safety car really helped as well, because I don't know who was behind Jack before. It was Clerpior. Then once you overtook Clerpior, that restart really helped as well, because you disposed Clerpior, then you had Jack in front of you. That was very important to clear Jack as well, because the rest of them couldn't clear Jack with his straight line speed. No one could get past him. And once you went up into P2, were you surprised that people were still behind Jack?
I was, but I was loving it. Because it helped me get away. I knew he was on old tyres and he'd hold everyone up, so as long as he could hold them up, be able to get that gap to hold on to P2, so I have to thank him for that.
Were you ever thinking about the race win with that penalty for Crc, with that 3-second time penalty? I think you were a bit too far away in the end.
When I got past Not Jack, I was too far away. I didn't think I pulled the gap back, but one good thing is he wasn't pulling away from me. Even when I got put into P2, he wasn't pulling away. The gap was like stabilising, so that's one good positive to take.
P3 in the end is a really good result, mate. It's nice to see you back in the podium. It's been a while, like I said, speaking to you ever since Tier 4 last season.
P2?
P2, Jamie, P2.
What did I say?
You said P3.
Yeah, I meant to say P2, sorry. I knew you finished in P2.
Yeah, it's nice to be back up there for a change.
How did you feel about the track in general? Was it difficult? Did you struggle at any stage of the race?
There was a few times where, especially at the end of the hard stint, where the tyres are just gone. They're like 38% and the tyres were just so slippy. I was just praying at that point, just to not go off track. Because on the hards I got 2 warnings and was, lucky not to get another one, to be fair. So, kept it within the limits just about.
Congrats on P2, mate. Scott, you got any penalties? Cheers. You got any questions for Panda? Not penalties.
No penalties for him. I don't know. I'll leave that up to the stewards. We might find something. You never know. But wow. No, my only question is, of course, we're going into the second part of the season. Of course, we've got a Christmas break coming up after this round 5. Las Vegas when we come back, Portimao in Portugal, Monza, Singapore, Spa, Zandvoort and Sakir, Bahrain. What's your thoughts on the rest of that calendar, and do you think based on that calendar and what you've seen so far, I don't think it'll be the last time we'll see you in the podium box, but I want to get your opinion on that as well.
I would like to think it's not last time, because a lot of those tracks are very good for me, especially Netherlands, Zandvoort, and a few of the others you just mentioned. So hopefully, but we have to just keep on with the consistency and see where it goes from there. Don't want to say yes, don't want to say no. We'll just see what happens.
I like that. A very
open
racing
and anything can happen.
Exactly. A very open and see what the wind brings sort of outlook. Yeah. We know you've got the pace, we know you've got the consistency now, especially. You've said that's improved over recent weeks, so all that's left to see is have a very good break over the festive period, and we'll see you back in the new year, definitely on the circuit, and probably most likely back in for a chat with us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I think DC is in the party. Are you, DC?
I am. Good evening.
Good evening, mate. I know you're a bit disappointed with that good qualifying result, but what happened at the first VSC? Because obviously I was in the Red Bull racing, but what happened to you at the first VSC?
So we are just discussing that in the paddock now. I thought it was just a me thing after discussing with Scott, but a lot of people had the same thing. Dragon had the same thing, Stephen had the same thing, Panda had the same thing. He's just said just loads of illegal overtakes. The VSC said it had ended, but there was still yellow flags, so where people were trying to overtake each other, and then you know what people get like under illegal overtakes, they slow down, they do this. It was just all over the shop. Yellow flags for about 2 sectors afterwards. which I was then obviously trying to see if it was a lobby-wide thing, and I went down to P12, so it was not fun.
Now you just said that, that's brought back some memories. I remember happening in Bahrain in one of my races in Germany too, that yellow flag glitch. So I actually do know what you're talking about now, Scott, because I wasn't thinking at the time, but now you've said that, I fully understand about it now. So yeah, that's unfortunate they're experiencing that. You dropped down into P13, I think it was, and you were fighting with that field throughout the whole race. Then the safety cars came out, and things really changed since then. So, and we expected a podium at all, judging by all that.
After, well, was there 2 safety cars, or was it just one? I'm not
2.
So yeah, the first one I wasn't, because I was still behind the pack. There's a lot of fast people on the grid. But the second one came out, and I was right behind Jesus in 6th. Knew there was a Mercedes, knew there were penalties flying around, not penalties from the glitch, but track penalties. So I knew it was a case of just keep the pace. Absolutely blasted the tyres and the battery. So as soon as I managed to get past Jesus, which it was a case of, it was a bit of a sketchy corner, but I managed to get past him, and I just knew I just needed to go from there. Saw that Nacho getting past me had pens, not Jack had pens, so just went for it, and yeah.
Yeah, because I thought Nacho was on course for a podium, but I realised he had a penalty, and in the end it was you versus Crc Iii, and with all those drivers ahead of you and Jack being an obstacle in the way, were you ever nervous about losing the podium because of all that?
Yeah, I did actually think that lap 27 was the last lap, so I used I had 0 battery going into the last lap, and saw a Crc Iii behind me. So I was then panicking. It was a case of, I knew if I'd made any small mistakes, it was another last lap overtake to take a position off me again from him. But luckily enough, Nacho and Jack were fighting enough that there was just no space on track for me or Callum to go, which is a shame, because it would have been nice to have a bit more of a battle, but it worked in my favour.
I said when you dropped down to P13, it'll put a dent in the championship, because I think Tobes and Indian Jesus were ahead of you at the time, which they were, but now it's the other way around, because you actually lead the championship now, and finishing P3, you've had a few P3s now and then. I think the next time is the win, because you've really got some strong pace. It's that if you put it together, I think you're definitely on course to winning Grand Prix, because you've definitely got the pace. But next one is the Christmas break, but after that, Las Vegas on the 8th of January. How do you feel for that?
I've never done it, so I couldn't tell you. It's a track I haven't gravitated towards on this game. So it looks like over the next couple of weeks I'm going to have to, but so I couldn't really tell you.
Fair enough, mate, and congrats on leading the championship, mate. I hope things go well for you in the next 2 races, and there's going to be a big challenge as well, because the grid is so tight as well. How does that make you feel at DC? Does it put a lot of pressure on your shoulders?
It does, yeah, because it's a case of just anyone could win a race. Obviously, Crc's been up there, Jesus is always up there, you've got me, Callum, Tobes, KXI, Panda. Literally, you could name pretty much the top 20. You see Nacho and the Jay Hartner were up there today as well. All of the drivers could probably win the race, so it just makes it a lot tougher.
Thank you, mate. And Scott, you got any questions for DC?
I do have some questions, but they're not for on air. They're a little bit of a private thing between me and Dan. But no, all to say, Dan, great recovery drive, mate. I'm sure. You put the calendar. You're part of the team that put the calendar together anyway. What's your thoughts for the second half of the season? Last week, the exact same question I asked Panda.
No problem. I'm just going to pull it up in front of me so we've got it, because memory's not fantastic. Yeah, like I just said to Jamie, Vegas, I'm not too sure. But the 4 tracks, after that are probably in my top 6 or 7 tracks on the game. Portimao's really nice to drive if you don't underfuel. Monza, I've had a good track record there. Singapore, it's a case of just keeping it out the walls and you're in for a good position. And everybody knows me as a bit of a Spa merchant. So, but I'm most looking forward to the last race, because Bahrain is by far my favourite track on the game.
heard it here first then. DC title challenge incoming. Nah, that's all from me, mate. Congratulations on tonight. Congratulations first, both of you, for making it to the end, because it was a chaotic race at times. But again, congratulations on the podiums, and best luck for the rest of the season.
Thanks very much, boys. Looking forward to watching it back.
Yeah, congrats on that recovery drive after that VSC. Keep it calm as well, because a lot of things happen in that race. Try not to get involved in incidents and picking up too many penalties, or picking up none, as in your case.
If you could hear my footage, you could hear I was nothing but calm.
I'd love to have your mentality.
And stuff I can't say on the stream.
Anyways, we'll write it off there. Tier 3 is done. The Christmas break is coming up for Tier 3, so we'll just wait a few weeks before we can go to Las Vegas. And join me back at Tier 1 for the USA Grand Prix. It should be an interesting one. We'll see you all later. With Sweet Crown in the championship, can he maintain the lead in the championship? We'll see. But for Tier 3, have a good night, and we'll see you in a few weeks' time. And also, thank you for Scott for commentating. I haven't ended the stream just yet, but I always appreciate you commentating, mate. You are amazing in commentary as always.
Pleasure to be here, Jamie. Thank you all for tuning in. Tier 4 still on the go. By the way, just if anybody is still in the comments, they are currently on lap 12 of 26 in what has been a equally chaotic Grand Prix. I think it's something with this circuit. Let's just leave it at that. But thank you again, Jamie.